So today I have the pleasure of interviewing one of South Africa's finest players right now. He averages 71.84 in 29 ODI knocks, including an incredible 99.44 in home matches. I'm sure he'd like to hear that again. He also has some strong T20 numbers, which we'll touch on in this interview. And it was also important in South Africa's Great Series wins over India in the home tests and ODIs earlier this year. Rassie van der Dussen, welcome to the CricBlog podcast. How are you?
Thanks for that introduction. Yeah, very well, thank you. All good over here in India, settled in nicely. So, all
nice. Good. No, well-deserved introduction there. The first thing I want to touch on before we talk about your game or the Royals or anything like that is South Africa's victory in the first test a couple of days ago. Harmer and Maharaj were outstanding. Can you provide some insight into how hard these guys work to be successful in South Africa, particularly Maharaj? To me, he looks like a very determined individual. What makes him a special player?
Yeah, I think a characteristic of our entire test squad over the last sort of 2 years has been the work we've put in. We have gone through a bit of a phase where, obviously, as you would know, big players retired and have left sort of a hole in the team for guys to have to step up and fill that gap. And sort of if I go 2-3 years ago, we realized we don't necessarily have those superstars anymore. We're going to have to, as a test team, pull on all of the resources we can, and that's hard work, that's grit, that's determination, that's being street smart and whatever. So I think that's the thing that's pulled through. A guy like Keshav sort of embodies that. He's one of the fittest guys in the team. He's always the first at the ground on match days, bowling before warm-up. He bowls a tremendous amount of overs trying to perfect his skill. And I think having spoken to a lot of guys, even now here at the IPL, who've come up against him, he's definitely known as one of the most skilled spinners out there at the moment. And I think the same goes for Harmer. He's obviously spent those years at Essex, bowled a lot of overs for them, won championships for them. He was their main sort of weapon for the last 3 or 4 years that he's been there. And I think that's starting to show. They're both sort of 32, 33, so that in their peak as spin bowlers, they know what they're about. And the skill they have to work batters out is something that, it's tough to face, but it's beautiful to see how they operate. I'm really glad for the way it worked out. It's not traditional South African conditions.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
It was good to see.
Yeah, 100%. I felt the same way watching it. So personally for you, I read that when you were growing up, you played lots of cricket or with your family on a cracked tennis court. You had a strip that was just good enough for cricket. And you only used like a bat that was half the width of a normal bat. You also batted with a bamboo stick at your grandfather's house. Or your grandfather's farm. And by all reports, it was very difficult to dismiss you. My question is, how important was that upbringing in helping you get to where you've got to in your career now?
I think looking back at it now, it obviously played a part. Growing up with 3 brothers, all sort of sporty, and I was the second of 4 brothers, and my older brother played all different sports, rugby, cricket, tennis. So I sort of followed in his footsteps, and sort of holiday time and afternoons and weekends at home, we try to find ways to make it, I suppose, a bit tougher for us to play cricket. All sports, but cricket in general, really, because it's something that we took to, all of us. We were all more inclined to batting, so our bowling wasn't our strong suit. So we quickly realized that if we play with a normal sized bat and with sort of normal regulations and rules, we'll just bat all day and it'll be impossible to dismiss each other. So that's where the bamboo and the different rules
Yeah.
the taping up of the ball and swinging and all those sort of rules came in to sort of survive more, make it almost impossible for the other one to survive, with just so many variables. And yeah, I
Of
think
course. Yeah.
I think it must have played a role. I'm not sure, but you can never really measure these things. But yeah, it was good fun for us, and that competitive nature sort of in the household, I think was something that from an early age sort of groomed us to be able to handle a bit of pressure, even if it is just
Yeah.
from your three brothers.
No, it's a lot of pressure. And I think probably had to concentrate harder to not get out. Wasn't easy. So
Definitely, yeah.
yeah. Um, Congratulations on being picked up in the IPL this season. What do you think it is about the IPL that makes it, so special?
I think the IPL just from the start it's been this sort of spectacular stage where international cricket comes with a lot of pressure and responsibility, and the IPL sort of seems to be that stage where yes, the pressure's there, but players here seem to express themselves, and that's where the entertainment comes from. And that's for me, having experienced it now for a week or so, that's sort of been the thing that stood out. Yes, there's high pressure, there's big crowds, and there's a lot happening around the game. But that's why we see so many entertaining matches and players here. It's just it's a platform where guys they want to express themselves and show what they're about. And I think that's why it makes for such good viewing. That as you would know, the fans are so passionate. I mean, it's the whole country's in a buzz. We're in the Mumbai at the moment, and everywhere you look and drive around, there's IPL signage up and different teams and whatever. So it's really the energy around the team and around the competition and around the stadium when you go there is really something special.
Brilliant. And is it true that you're a Rajasthan Royals fan? Because I think I saw that somewhere. What makes the Royals franchise so great, and how happy are you to be part of their journey now?
It is true. From the outset, when the IPL started, it was these new teams. So you sort of looked for something. You looked for a reason to support a team, and one of the reasons I supported Rajasthan was because I had Graham Smith playing for them. So that was, I sort of naturally went that way. So I suppose in that sense it's worked out quite well for me.
Nice.
Yeah. And coming here about a week or two ago, it's a great environment. It's really, I mean, all the cliches that you hear, and trying to be a family and look after each other and everyone's equal. Those are things that are really implemented. Yeah. So from the outset, I felt really I didn't know many people really, but from the outset, I felt really that they made me comfortable, made me feel at home, and I could voice my opinions about stuff. I could in training, I can sort of take responsibility for what I need to do. It's not a feeling of I need to prove myself to anyone. It's just a really good environment to be part of. Maybe that's why we started well, but out of a bit of a hiccup against RCB. But I think those are the sort of ingredients that I've noticed in my career that goes a long way in constant team performance. So that's, hopefully with this season, with those things in place, I'm really excited for what the season can bring.
Yeah, speaking about the good start to the season, like despite the loss yesterday, it's still been a very good start to the year for Royals. What has impressed you so far in terms of what the team has put out there on the field?
I think in general, just the clarity and the honestly keeping it simple of game plans. A guy like Malinga, very, very simplistic in the way he approaches bowling and game plans, and really not overcomplicating stuff. And it's the same with batting. The planning and the strategy meetings we have is centered around the players' strengths, what we want to do, and sort of we know that if we execute those plans, we're going to go a long way to batting well, and that's what we did. We've batted well in all 3 games. We've bowled well for 90% of the 3 games. The last sort of, I want to say, 5 or 6 overs in the match yesterday against RCB didn't go according to plan. But you're gonna have those games. You're gonna have those sort of patches where it just doesn't go for you, and you maybe end up making a few wrong decisions. But it's a long season, and I think the key is to sort of bank that now, learn from that, and when we're in that situation again, approach it differently. But in general, very simplistic, a lot of trust towards the players, and the coaches are sort of just there to facilitate and help the guys along.
Nice. On a personal note, you've got a good record batting at 4 in T20s. I think you averaged close to 50. You got a strikeout of over 130. Another good set of stats for you. For me personally, I see that as a quite a difficult, challenging position to bat in T20s. What do you think the key is to excel in this role, and how do you look to continue improving in this role?
I think batting in the middle in general in T20 is, you firstly got to assess the intensity of the match and where it is. You can obviously walk in the 2nd or 3rd over, or walk in the 17th or 18th over. So to be able to realize what's needed of you in the moment and in the innings, and that's something I consciously always do when I go in. Sort of try and work out how many balls I've got left to face and plan my innings accordingly. And I think then obviously that's the know-how, and then you've got to have just the skill to adapt. So whether you come in against a new ball in the power play, you've got to have the skill to clear the inner ring and negate the moving ball. But if you're coming in the middle overs, you need to be able to rotate spin from the get-go and make sure your boundary options are lower risk but also clear. And obviously if you're coming in at the death, you need to back yourself to clear the rope sort of in your first 3 or 4 balls. So those skill elements, once you've got them, it's more of a mental blueprint that you got to find in your own mind in terms of when you enter the match and what's required of you.
Is your mindset similar in ODI cricket? Because you have wonderful numbers in that format as well. What's the key to such consistency in that format? Like, how do you approach each game?
Yeah, I would say it's similar mindset. In ODI cricket, you can afford to be a bit lower risk. Depending on where you come in, where you enter the innings. But again, similar skills, but just implemented in a different way. A big thing for me in ODI cricket is to limit dot ball and keep my dot ball percentage as low as possible. That's something, especially against spin, I've worked a lot on in the last 2 or 3 years. And then sort of your lower risk boundary options. So having the skill again to access the part of the field that's with only 4 guys out in ODI cricket, to access a certain part of the field, or being really strong in sort of low risk boundary options until you really need to until you find yourself in a situation where you need to go to those higher risk options, maybe from over 36 onwards, if you're in a strong position, or if you're not, maybe 40, 43, 44 and later. So for me, that's been the thing, and I found that if you can limit dot balls, especially in your first 20, 30 balls, and you can sort of be close to a runner ball and find yourself in, execute the lower risk boundary options, then that does give you some sort of consistency, and you can use that to apply pressure on the bowlers.
Yeah, awesome. So in terms of limiting dot balls, that's pretty important in India. When you're coming in against spin, what's your preparation like in India, say, compared to a T20 match or a one-day match in South Africa?
Yeah, the wickets seems to be a little bit slow. Last night was the first one that really
it was
spun.
Slow. Yep.
So just the sort of bat angles, the timing, sort of those rotational shots, I want to say. your forward defenses, the bat angles, getting your feet in the right position. You can afford to move a little bit more because it's a little bit slower. So that's been sort of the bulk of my preparation, just to sort of get used to the pace of the wickets, and make sure that when you let me say it like this: when you have the pace of the wicket, it's a lot easier to maneuver the ball. So getting used to that, these conditions, sort of get that in your norm. As I can't find the right word to describe it right now, but you sort of this becomes your norm, as opposed to quick bouncy South African wickets. And you sort of build your game plan around that.
Yeah, makes sense. In terms of the Rajasthan Royals, I know you talked earlier about the simplicity of instruction and all that stuff in team meetings, but in terms of the team itself, I know like the Royals have been on the cusp of producing some good things over the last few years, but they haven't quite got to the playoffs or quite got further than what they have. What do you think will be the key factors this year? Who are the key players do you think that will help the Royals break the drought, the trophy drought in the IPL?
I think the one thing that really stands out in our squad this year is the world-class local players that we have. So obviously you got Ashwin and Chahal with the spin in the middle. And then we've got Krishna and Sani with the seam bowling department. And then we got Jaiswal and Padikal in the batting department. And then Rian Parag in the middle there, who can clear the boundary at will almost. So that's already the basis of a very strong squad.
Yep.
And then you throw in guys like Butler, Hetmeyer, Holt, Nisham, myself, maybe. You know, that's
yourself for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Then you sort of starting to plug.
Yep.
Some of there aren't any real holes in that squad to start with, but then you have a team that's consisting of almost 11 match winners, and you're giving yourself a chance in every match for 2 or 3 guys to come off and having the potential in T20 match to win the game by themselves.
You mentioned quite a few star players there. When you were announced as a Royals player, did you think, say, 1 or 2 players you thought, yeah, I'd really like to train with him or play with him? Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think definitely the 2 spinners. Having come up against them recently in South Africa, where it was really challenging, I thought, at least I don't have to go out and face them in the middle again. So, to face these guys on the nets, those are the 2 that stood out. Josh Butler, I always, it's always tough to play against. He's such an all-round player.
He is,
and a guy who can take the game away from you so quickly. It's known in world cricket, Al Hetmeyer just really has his way with spinners around the world. So to not be able to not having to face these guys on the field came as a bit of a relief, and I hope I can sort of also in my own way contribute and sort of get on the park with them and make some special memories.
Absolutely. You talked about players you don't want to play against in your team, but what about from other teams in this IPL? You think, have you spotted a bowler or 2 that you say, wow, they're going to be difficult to sort of hit boundaries against when I play against them?
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, there's a few world-class spinners here, which I think as the tournament progresses, because there's only 4 venues, I think spin will come into it a bit more. So that's going to be challenging. The guys, the seamers who have very good control and with their variation balls, with their slower balls, and a guy like Dwayne Pretorius, the way he's come in, I can foresee that being an interesting battle, just because we know each other so well. We've played together for about 10 years. And him and I have always been pushing each other to get better and to make different plans against each other. And so he's come in and done really well and just showed the value of pure skill, even if you don't necessarily have the out-and-out pace. So that's a battle I look forward to, hopefully. Also, guys like Dwayne Bravo, like I said, the seamers who have the ability to really control the line and the length of their slow balls, I think that's going to be one of the toughest going forward.
Yeah, for sure. As always, there's always strong sides in the IPL. And along with the Royals, which team or teams do you think fans should keep an eye on, or which team has caught your eye and said, yeah, they're pretty impressive?
I think Faf brings a whole different dynamic to RCB. If you include Maxwell, who's going to come in for them.
Yep.
They're a pretty solid all-round team. They last night, for example, they didn't even use their sixth bowler, so they're a team that looks pretty strong. Yeah, it's obviously difficult to it hasn't been a lot, but the Gujarat Titans look pretty good. They look like a solid team. Even Lucknow, the two new teams do look really balanced. But I mean, then there's always teams like Chennai, and they haven't really started well, but the match winners they have, and if they get on a groove, how dangerous they can be. KKR is going to get Pat Cummins back, so that's going to make a big difference. I think that's the beauty of the IPL, isn't it? Every match just has like match winners scattered throughout. So
100%.
We saw Andre Russell the other night just win a match on 70 from 30. So it just keeps you on edge. You can never count yourself in or out. I mean, last night we were in a very good position, and
that's right. Yeah,
8 out of 10 times you probably think we're winning that match, but then I think Shabazz and Kartik came in and played those innings they played. And they ended up winning the match. So
100%.
Yeah.
So as an Australian fan myself, despite the rivalry we have with South Africa, there was an element of feeling sorry for you guys last year in the World Cup. You won 4 out of 5 games and still didn't qualify for the semis. In terms of, South Africa, I know you touched on, the work you guys have put in the past, couple of years, but where do you think the team is at right now? And what do you think will be the key in terms of trying to go all the way in the World Cup later this year?
Yeah, I think we took a lot of confidence from that World Cup performance. It was tough losing one match in the last over, and then winning the 4 quite well and not being able to qualify. That was a tough one, especially seeing we also played well in the warm-up game. So So, but I mean, the results are going to be what they're going to be. As a team, we're in a very good space. We're challenging each other. The coaching staff is challenging us to get better every day and every session, and get out of our comfort zones. And we've got 2 good leaders, and especially in the white ball, that Temba really knows what he's about as a player and as a leader and where we want to go. So I think if as a team, we can keep improving and keep going up. The results sort of has shown that in the last year, beating India at home, drawing with New Zealand from a test point of view, beating India 3-0 in the ODIs. We had a bit of a hiccup now against Bangladesh, but I think consistently we're starting to put in good, solid team performances, and that's what you need at a World Cup. Individuals can win you matches, but a team is going to win you a World Cup. So we can keep doing that, sort of keep playing the brand that we played in the UAE. I think we've got every chance to go far. Yeah.
And lastly, what do you enjoy doing outside of cricket? I know, bubble life and hub life can be quite challenging sometimes. So what do you like to do to sort of get your mind away from cricket? Or
let's hope this IPL is the last we see of bubble life. The series back home now against Bangladesh hasn't been played in the bubble, and it's gone fairly well. I know in England they've also done away with it. So to find stuff to do in the bubble does get tricky after what's it been 2 years or so.
Of course,
Yeah. But I like nature. I like to go out. get some fresh air. The normal stuff. Hang out with friends, and just get away from the game. See people I know, make time for people you don't see often when you're traveling a lot. I've got a few businesses at home that I'm involved with, and just sort of do the normal, I want to say, day-to-day stuff. I often tell my wife that when I come home, I just want to be at home. Just have a braai, sit on the couch, do the normal things. Not necessarily go out, and because you travel so much, you actually don't get to spend a lot of time at home. So oftentimes I just want to chill at home, and like I said, make some time for people you don't get to see a lot. But I do enjoy my bird watching. Getting out into nature.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a pretty laid back, simple guy. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rassie, for your time today. Thank you for all your very generous answers, a lot of great insights. And yeah, I know, you've got a busy schedule with the Royals, so I really appreciate you taking the time today, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been fun. Thank you.